this launch, we've done some different things.
Mm-hmm.
We've prepared ourselves differently. And so we should talk about that. And I guess maybe we can just share ideas of like what we think, what our perceptions were of how we prepared differently. I know we adopted new tools. We've had different communication styles and status updates and calls and meetings and stuff like that. So,
Hey, welcome to episode 5 of Health Hustlers Happy Hour. This is Jaclyn, health coach, copywriter, and marketing strategist.
and I'm Jackie, a health habits coach that can help you hack your brain with psychology. And we are so excited to have you all back for this episode. We are talking about health Habits Accelerator, which is my group coaching program that Jaclyn I think we talked about it in one of our first episodes, and she really pushed me in this direction to think about group coaching because I work full time and it's the best way to scale yourself. Ideally, I started out as one-on-one coach, now doing, working toward this group coaching situation. And so we are going to talk about our next launch, which is literally our doors open on Wednesday, right, Jaclyn?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're opening tomorrow. We open for our waitlisters, and then on Wednesday we open for the rest of the group.
Yes.
And so we're super excited to just talk about what we did differently. And maybe Jaclyn, you can start by kind of giving the group a little understanding, the audience a little understanding of this 90-day cycle that we're in this year, because I think we're doing it for about a year, and you could talk a little bit more about that because it was your idea.
Yes. Well, I follow a launch course creator, I guess, and her strategy, especially for a brand new course creator, is essentially that the first year should be a learning process, experimentation. Um, and she suggests starting very basic with launching your course, essentially with just email marketing. We didn't necessarily follow that to a T because last time we used a webinar, which is an advanced approach according to her, but we kind of just, said, let's go for it. But so the idea of launching every 90 days is essentially kind of goes back to that taking messy action and um, implementing a new piece of the launch. So, like I mentioned, we used the webinar last time. This time around for launch number 2, we're eliminating the webinar piece. We're using it in a different part of the funnel, and adding a waitlist piece, which I think we're having some good success with that. And then what we'll do for the rest of the year is put a different piece of the strategy into the funnel, and we'll take away what works and what doesn't, look at the data, and kind of move into next year, 2025, with information on what worked best.
Yeah. Yeah, this was, well, so what I love about this approach, because Jaclyn brought this to me and I was like, I love this because I'm a scientist and like sciencey people love to isolate variables. And so the mechanics of this are really just like you're adding a new variable to test and see what works for you and your business, the context of where you're at in your business. So I definitely think this is a really good approach. And like you said, it's, we've got the wait list, which has been pretty successful. I mean, I'm not going to say it's very successful because I don't have a ton of experience running, doing launches and creating waitlists for them. I have done it for a challenge or two in the past, and I get, not a ton of people, but steadily we're getting, every week we do an email and do a post on social. We get, 2 to 3 new people join the waitlist. So it's really exciting. And then, I think this is always the question of like, all right, so you create this wait list, right, Jaclyn? And then how do you, like, I guess, what are I can't remember, what are the numbers for people that are supposed to sign up from your wait list? Do you know that? I can't remember I know
I
we've chatted about that before,
I
but
don't off the top of my head. I know that in general you can expect I think it's 1 to 3% of your overall wait list
Overall wait. Oh, overall
to,
email list or wait list?
I'm sorry, email list.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the numbers on the wait list.
Okay. Yeah.
That's actually, we should look that up before we, um,
I feel like Joel Coleman said something like, I don't want to say 50%. That seems really high, but
mhm,
I thought there was some much higher percentage of people. But I think the main point of the waitlist is this exclusivity piece. So what we're doing for Health Habits Accelerator is the normal doors open for enrollment on Wednesday, so this Wednesday, but we're opening them for the waitlisters tomorrow, Tuesday, and they're getting 40% off.
mhm,
And the first person to sign up gets a free 30-minute strategy call with me. So I think that's the benefit of this waitlist is you get to add a little bit of exclusivity. And I think it probably just gives you a better sense of the actual number of people that will probably sign up, or at least like if you say like, so, right now I think the people in my email list that we're sending these emails, the whole list is about 800 people,
mhm.
um, which we can get into in another episode on how I'm developed, like how we've been working on getting that email list built up using essentially meta ads, Facebook ads, with freebies. But anyway, so we've got about 800 people in there and set 19 people in the wait list. So if you look at that, like it's very small compared to the number, like the total number of people that are actually getting these emails in the total
Yeah,
wait list or in the total email list. So, but again, this is the second launch that we're doing. The first launch, as a reminder, we had nobody sign up. This
mhm,
launch, I know for sure I have one person that I know that messaged me saying that she wants to sign up, which, that's a really good sign when they go out of their way to tell you that they're going to sign up. They're like, I got on your wait list. And actually, what she sent me, the message, and we talked about this the other day, Jaclyn, was, hey, it looks like there's already a wait list for your group coaching.
yeah,
And so that's cool because it's like, oh, it generates. I mean, it's not it wasn't necessarily our intent of like creating this idea of like, oh, there's already a wait list. It's like, no, it's just you get on a special list for special offers and discounts so that when enrollment opens, then you're the first to know kind of thing. So in her mind, it's
yeah,
like, oh, it's already filled up
yeah,
and now I'm on a wait list, which I totally get how that's maybe perceived or not being perceived the right way or we're miscommunicating it. But I know I mean, this is what all the industry experts do is how they communicate it. So
yeah,
struggling there on how to better communicate that to people, or maybe it's not really worth going into changing how to communicate it and just getting people used to the idea of what it is. So,
yeah, definitely.
yeah. So, okay. So I think from first launch to this launch, we've done some different things.
Mhm.
We've prepared ourselves differently. And so we should talk about that. And I guess maybe we can just share ideas of like what we think, what our perceptions were of how we prepared differently. I know we adopted new tools. We've had different communication styles and status updates and calls and meetings and stuff like that. So, I
Mhm.
guess for you, Jaclyn, what's been the biggest difference from a preparation standpoint, between last launch and this launch?
Yeah. I think because last launch, like we mentioned in one of the other episodes, I felt like I was writing alongside as the launch was progressing, which was stressful for me. I didn't feel like I could produce um, as strategic emails as I would like to. So this launch, knowing what to expect, I was able to kind of space out, the emails. I went with the same strategy, just kind of preparing people, letting people know what, in a subtle way what was coming up. Um, and definitely using the Notion as a project management tool, um, to keep myself on track that way. Um, but honestly, I think the biggest thing for me, just to keep my stress level down, was to just get a head start on the emails.
Yeah. 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 I remember that call because I think so. We launched the first time in January and we were kind
Hmm.
of putting the product together. I was, building the product. You were trying to figure out how are we going to market this thing. And because it was January, we wanted to kind of hop on that train of people are motivated in January. They want to change, they want a solution. So we felt that pressure and we just wanted to ride the wave that way. So I think this time we for sure knew we were going to change our approach in terms of how we got ourselves organized. So
Yeah.
it definitely involved, I mean, I remember, I mean, it was part of that one of those first episodes that was our debriefing process of what went wrong or what went well, what didn't go well. And yeah, I think the notion that product that you talked about, that was a big change. And I know that came about through other mechanisms, but I think we used that, or maybe in addition to that, I think we just did a meeting, right, where we mapped out the timeline.
Hmm.
And I still am really bad with timelines and calendars. And so I still to this, and I know that's what I need to change for even the next launch is just like studying the timeline more thoroughly because I just am not, I've not done that well enough this round either. But anyway, so we did that, right? We did a work back plan of we decided the launch date or like cart close is basically what we worked up to. So our cart close is not this Wednesday, next Wednesday. And then
Hmm.
we worked backwards from there. So we're doing a 7-day launch. So, 7 days or work back 7 days from the cart close. That's when we cart open. We do one extra day for our waitlisters. That's our next milestone. And then
Hmm.
from there, I believe it was from an email perspective, it was one email a week for how many weeks leading up until we got to the 2 emails a week, right? Because we went from
We,
one email to two.
hmm I think it was because I think 4 weeks prior to cart open, I've
Mhm.
been doing two a week.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
So 4 weeks. So a month leading up to card open,
Hmm.
two a week.
Yes, that's what we've
Yeah.
been
And
doing.
then prior to that, though, wasn't there where you were
Just
doing one
one.
a week?
Yep,
Okay.
just a newsletter. Yeah, on Tuesdays.
Just our regular newsletter, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And so we weren't really talking about HHA in particular or the wait list, several like I guess it was from January till what would be like February, I guess. So for
Yeah.
1 month we were just doing one email a week and that would just be what do we call that? It's like
Like
warming up the audience.
nurture.
Yeah, lead
Yeah.
nurture.
Hmm.
I'm always bad with the terminology. So lead nurture, warming the audience up.
Yeah.
So that's what Jaclyn was really focused on doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think and those are just opportunities also to educate, this,
Hmm.
especially with the psychology stuff, right? Like it's hard to distill all this crap that's in my brain, this academic stuff that's in my brain. And Jaclyn does such a good job of that. You're so good at it. So it's anyway, so that's kind of what we do on a normal basis is those lead nurture. And so we'll go back to lead nurturing
Yeah.
after next week. It'll go back to one email a week. So we go from one email to lead nurture to 2 emails a week, which are join the wait list or whatever variable. So last time it was sign up for the webinar.
Hmm.
This time it's join, which by the way, I think we talked about it, but the webinar was a flop, in my opinion.
Oh, I didn't think
In my
so.
opinion, I sucked at it. Well, it was fine, but like you said, it was the woman that you were saying said that it was a more advanced variable to test with. So I definitely want to do it again. And I think it
Mhm.
was one of my better presentations in terms of taking complicated information and distilling it down. But again, you're just talking about we had such a small group of people that were willing to join. And then ones that joined jumped on and off. And so you've got people that are like, okay, like there's that social proof piece. Like, oh, there's only a few people here. Like this chick's not for real. So it
Mhm.
really exposes you, I think, is what I'm trying to say. It's not that I flopped or that we flopped at it. You didn't flop at anything, but I felt like a flop because, and it was that, it's imposter syndrome. coming
Mm.
into. Like afterward, I was like, oh, I'm not good at this.
Yeah.
But I watched the recording after. I'm like, okay, I did show up well.
Yes,
It's
you
just that
absolutely did.
small, small,
Yeah.
small
Well, and two,
rewarding.
we have to remember how, I mean, you get these course creators that have these huge webinars, but
Yeah.
I mean, they've been on social media for years and they have a huge list. And I think for the size of your list and the time that we had to nurture people to get on the webinar, I think it was great. It was very successful. And we're using it in a different part of the funnel and we've gotten people on the wait list because of that webinar. So,
That's true. Yeah, you're
yeah.
right. You're absolutely right. So it wasn't, yeah, it was, we recorded it and now it's a free standing, free, whatever lead generating
Yeah.
asset that now anyone can go watch it. And then I get their email and we add them to the list and then they
Right.
get to be nurtured. So sorry,
Yeah.
that's my cleaning lady texting me. Um, love her. Keeps my life in check. So yeah, that was so anyway, the webinar happened. That was the first variable. And now I feel like we're gaining even more momentum. And you're talking about like it's March timeframe. So if we look at where we're at in the year, the calendar year, January, I definitely feel like, and I remember you were listening to an episode from Jill on her podcast at FitBizU, and she talked about that too. Like January, people are still
Hmm.
acclimating to the holiday, like getting off the holiday train, and people are exhausted. And so I even think for next year, I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like, I feel like February would be a
Hmm.
better launch day or launch month for next year versus January because I feel like I signed up a bunch of people in February one on one
Hmm.
versus in January, or like very much toward the end of January. And I think we waited till second week of January, but maybe we even wait longer next year. Cause I mean, both of us, I remember we were both like, depressed,
Yeah.
like don't want to do anything. The
Yep.
holidays are over. Just it takes a while. So anyway,
Yeah.
so now we're calendar month March. Spring, people are getting ready for spring break. This is probably. I mean, we're like this is going to be probably. I'm guessing the peak, and then what we'll know is like as we get closer to summertime, that's when people start to say F it, like I'm already where I'm at summertime, summer body wise, and
Yep.
it is what it is, and they just want to go to barbecues and drink beer,
Hmm.
and that's great and that's so fun, but we know from like a business perspective it's going to be a little more challenging. So I think we're potentially at the peak of,
Yeah.
of
It definitely
getting
could be. Yeah. I will say, when my kids went back to school, like in September and fall, that was an opportunity for me to say, like, okay, like summer's over, everyone's back into structure, and I'm going to get my SHIT together as well. So we might, that it'll be interesting to see, if the fall is also another time where,
Mhm.
because your demographic tends to be like the busy mom.
Right.
Um, and it'll be interesting to see if we see that. Um,
Yeah, it's like when kids go back to school
mhm.
is when they feel like they have more time in their
Time for
life
themselves. Yeah.
versus when the kids are out of school during summer or out of school during holiday breaks. Much harder for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think.
So,
So we were at prepping. So yeah, so we had Notion that
yes.
helped. So we did like kind of our work back plan, our timeline. That was probably step number one. So that Jaclyn knew and I knew, and I still didn't do a good enough job on the social media side. Like tackles all the email stuff, and I try to do that, like replicate some of that messaging on the social media side. And I still didn't do a great enough job. I've been planning my social media. Like I have a post go out every day, but I was like, oh yeah, I need to do, Jaclyn reminded me, she's like, oh yeah, you should be doing HHA related posts too.
Mhm.
Cause I'm like in this mindset right now of like, just add a crap ton of value to people's lives and doing no service posting, like what I'm about or trying to get. I mean, sometimes I'll try to point people to link in bio for applying for 101, but I've kind of lost track of our timeline and doing stuff for HHA for social media. So I know now next launch, I will be much better about that. It's already a learning that I've gotten, but it's not too late because I think we've been getting people from my stories whenever I post. I'll make a post and then I'll share that post in my stories and then have a direct link in the stories to the wait list. And I think we've been getting at least a few people from that. So
I think so
still
too.
not too late, but anyway. So yeah. So
Yeah.
that and the Notion, we keep talking about that. That is one of the best project management tools. And Jacqueline and I both come from corporate where we've dealt with Jira boards and people nerding out on organizing product management tools, all that stuff. So this for us has been incredibly helpful and I highly recommend it. I think you look at it from a project, you create your projects, and then you've got your tasks under there and assign things, tag people. Me and Jacqueline tag each other all the time, just so that when she writes an email, she's like, "All right, Google Docs up," and I get a notification on my phone that Jacqueline just changed something about her story, that the Google Docs in there, so then I can go in and add it to my active campaign. So it's just been very, very efficient for both of us. I think this round to
Yep.
just kind of stay on top of things.
Yeah. I think it'll only get better for sure.
Yeah. Um, and then I think, I wanted us to talk about too what because we've been, as we're doing this, we're constantly brainstorming. Okay, what do we do next launch?
Hmm.
So I think we've been talking about, and Jacqueline, you can even hit on this idea of an evergreen product. So HHA is right now the version of it is live, where I go on every other week throughout 3 months and I answer live, with the clients that are in there, answer their questions, do a little bit of coaching, helping, create and facilitate that community. But the other half of it is an online program of videos and homework assignments, a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy type of homework assignments. So I think the idea is that long term there will be a self-sustaining product, that HHA is not always going to have the live version of me, and it will be much more affordable too. So
Hmm.
I think we were just chatting about that yesterday, about maybe next round we introduce that variable. I'm not sure. That's kind of what I wanted to get your thoughts on.
Yeah, I think now that we have essentially a full funnel of emails and a couple options that we can choose from, we can look back and see the data on which ones were the better performing emails. Um, the great thing about that is the way I think we structured HHA
Hmm.
as a program that can be done on its own, but we can add you as the live piece. Because of that, we can just allow the funnel of emails, the lead magnets with the funnel of emails, um, and just let HHA run in the background as an evergreen course. So, yeah, I think that would be a great option. And then we could launch it live next year once we get through these 90-day launches where we're gathering all this data. We can launch it live next year. And it just won't have to be such a tedious process because we'll
Right.
have the evergreen running in the background with the live launches with you, and that will open up time for you, um, to bring on more one-on-one clients if you want. It opens up more time for you for more options on how you want to proceed with your coaching business.
Yeah, so it's really just when, if someone's ready right then and there, they join my email list and they're
Hmm.
hyper motivated, we have this solution right then and there. They don't have to wait for a launch, essentially, right? And
Yep.
then yeah, and then I think it's then I'm curious too, because when we launch it live, I'm wondering what we would do for the women that said, "Hey, I bought HHA, your other one. What is this live option?" So
Hmm.
wondering if we'll, and I don't know what the gurus say that you've kind of looked into, the research that you've done, but is there maybe an add-on where someone can buy into the live if they want it? They already have the regular, the online courses. Do they buy into it? I don't know if I don't know. That's something we have to invent as an option, or a little add-on or something. But if you're
No,
on,
well, actually, I went through the Copy Posse certification program with Alex Catoni,
yeah.
and the way she sets hers program up is anyone who goes through the Evergreen, she will essentially take the deposit you made when you purchased Evergreen and apply it to the live course. So
Oh,
then you
okay.
just make up the
Yeah,
difference and you get all the live courses, you get the Facebook or, all the
yeah.
benefits that come along with the live course. So yeah,
Right.
definitely
Okay.
an option we can do.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that because I was thinking, we've got so as part of HHA Live, there's a Slack community,
Hmm.
and I've got a regular Slack community for anybody, but then I have private channels in there for HHA. So all the anyone that joins HHA, the evergreen version, could get into the Slack group, but they wouldn't be in the private ones where there's
Right.
going to be a lot more value and a lot more, probably more, much deeper conversation and much more dedicated help from me. I think I would just probably go into Slack and go straight to that channel because
Right.
that's my live group. So anyway, I think that makes a lot of sense. Just doing the making up the difference,
Hmm.
learning. Sam learning while doing a podcast about how to
Yeah,
start. There's so much. There's so much to do.
there is.
And so
Yeah.
this is why having a business partner to do all of this with is helpful because it's like you have two people. It's two of us, and we get to consume all this different information. I'm in like that learning mode for social media, and so I'll like hit up Jaclyn and I'm like, oh my god, look, this is what I learned today, or I hired this person, I learned this from them. So we're just sharing knowledge constantly,
Yeah.
which is probably good and bad because we know we can get into those learning phases where it's like
Yeah.
overwhelming and not not always the most helpful if we're trying to
Yeah.
just accomplish tasks, but
Yeah. It's
nonetheless.
definitely double the knowledge and also double the distraction.
Yeah. It's
But I think
procrastination
we're pretty,
is best.
yeah, we're pretty good at keeping each other on task, I think. So,
Oh yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, we're definitely, I think it helps actually from an accountability standpoint
yeah.
to share, but then be like, wait, okay, let's shelve this for a little bit and just come back to it. So
Yep.
anyway,
Definitely. All
yeah.
right. Well, is that it for episode 5?
I think so. We're about at 30 minutes, so I don't want to keep all of our audience online for too long. So yeah, let's we can wrap this one up and we'll see y'all in episode 6.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember what we're talking about. In episode 6, we
I think we,
are covering the tech, the tech that makes these our businesses go round. So
yes.
it's gonna be if you're into tech, it's kind of like, yeah, if you're into tech or just wanting to understand tools. Tools are such a big part of operating your business, but they're also not exciting to talk about. So we will try to make it as fun as possible.
Yeah. And that's all yours because I know nothing. I always have to message Jackie. I'm like, how do I set this up? That's
Well,
Jackie's realm.
you use a lot of tools though,
I
so
do. Not very well
anyway,
though.
no, I think it's always a big learning curve no matter what
Yeah.
tools you use. So anyway,
All right.
stick around for episode 6 if you're into that, or skip to episode 7 if you want something a little more interesting. All right, talk to y'all later.
Bye.